Now, here in Nigeria, the country has joined the rest of the world in marking Children's Day. But it's come with a warning from experts across academia, civil society and the government. They're raising the alarm over Nigeria's worsening children out of school crisis. The latest figures from UNICEF are alarming. They suggest that Nigeria has gone from having 10 million children out of school a decade ago to more than 18 million today, with girls, street children and nomadic groups the most affected. Those who are in school have poor infrastructure, inadequate classrooms, not enough teaching aids like computers, laboratories and libraries, and poor quality teachers. The experts are calling for urgent, coordinated interventions to prevent what they say is a ticking time bomb. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the head of the Child Protection Unit at UNICEF Nigeria, Ibrahim Sesay. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Pleasure having me.
Just tell us a bit about the significance of Children's Day.
When you look at the International Children's Day, this is quite significant. We have been moving forward with the idea that the children are the future. But basically, it is a time for us to really listen to the future. Because when you look in terms of whatever needs to happen to Nigeria, the heartbeat of Africa, wherein you have over 220 million people living, for those whom we characterize to say they are the future leaders, if we don't do any sort of investment in terms of respecting the rights of children, investing in their future, obviously the future is mortgaged. So in a sense that Nigeria has lived up to its expectations with regards to the ratification on the Convention on the Rights of the Child, but basically we still need to put a smile on the face of every Nigerian child.
Well, let me ask you this. What are the urgent things that you think we need to be reminded of here in Nigeria as we mark this day?
The first and most important thing is to ensure that every child in Nigeria, they enjoy their rights as a child. What does this entail? Do they really go to bed hungry? Do they have, like what you've mentioned in terms of the appalling statistics where in Nigeria is now leading the pathway in a very negative way with regards to children that are out of school? And you've already enumerated them, such as Almajiri children. You look in terms of out of school girls who should be there. And let's don't forget, the issues surrounding violence around children is very, very pronounced. Wherein we have 65% of children who are in Nigeria are experiencing some form of aggression. And of which it cost Nigeria $6.1 billion when you look in terms of the economic burden of violence. So this could be transformed in terms of 1.07% of the GDP, which could be used in a very prudent manner for the growth, protection, and well-being of children. So this is very, very critical.
So a big priority obviously would be taking children. For instance, you mentioned Almajiris, nomadic children, you know, all that sort of thing, kids who are in conflict, taking them off the streets and into the classrooms. I mean, how challenging is that likely to be?
Now, what is very critical here, and which of course I really like to put somewhat out here, even the children that we have in school, let's ask ourselves one single question: are they learning? Which means, can they really read and write when you really look in terms of the basic fundamental literacy that we really count on? And the answer is no. You look in terms of the poor infrastructure, like you've mentioned, the instructors, when you look with regards to teachers, the teaching environment in terms of where all of this happens. Now, the good news is, Nigeria just launched the National Costed Strategy and Plan on addressing violence against children, of which education and skilling is one component with regards to what really needs to happen. And this really happened way back in April, which is just quite recently, and this was launched by His Excellency the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of which he was then represented by the Vice President. So here we really need a whole of government and a whole of society approach to really address this issue.
Right. And have you been encouraged by what you heard the administration saying today? I mean, the president gave a Children's Day message, and perhaps by what you've seen the administration doing. You mentioned some of it in the past 2 years.
Basically, if you look with regards to the Renewed Hope initiative that has been launched, and then which is basically a vehicle in terms of translating policy into action right across. I'm very much encouraged with regards to the political commitment that we've seen so far.
Yeah, but has there been any difference, measurable difference, in the last 2 years of this administration, in your assessment?
Well, basically, I will say there are positive aspects that we've been able to see, which is basically in its physical form, and I will be able to really enumerate one or two of those. But at the same time, a lot more needs to be done when you really need to really move the needle from where we are now to something that is very, very positive when you look in terms of the trajectories that really need to be taken. Like we now have most of the laws and policies that are in place, and then the government is even coming up with a child protection policy. But will that really put a smile on the face of the child wherein implementation is too far away? You look in terms of budgetary allocation that really go to one of the poorest ministries within government, which is basically the Ministry of Women Affairs. And how much are they really getting as part of the national cake when it really comes from the consolidated fund? So these are some of the critical issues we really need to ask ourselves and encourage governments to really do more. But when it really comes in terms of some of the key optics that they've really been taken, take like for instance the Safe School Declaration, putting in billions of naira into how best learning should really take place, the investment in terms of the GDP to education, all these are positive steps. But what is critical here is the translation of some of these policy initiatives into action, which should really reach every Nigerian child. Remember, we're talking about rights, and rights is for every child in Nigeria.
And you haven't seen that action?
It's still an uphill battle and a challenge.
Right. Tell us a bit about the work that you and your department do here in Nigeria.
Basically, child protection is one of the components of UNICEF. And we are here to really support the efforts of government. We don't really have a program on our own. Basically, there is a program of cooperation between UNICEF and the government of Nigeria. Now, to that extent, we are looking issues like addressing on education, food security, as well as nutrition. And then you look at issues regarding water and sanitation, health, which includes aspects in terms of immunization, and then in terms of promoting healthcare, even at the community level. And part of my portfolio is basically the promotion of children's rights with specific aspects in terms of preventing and reducing violence in Nigeria.
Right. Okay. I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in to share your thoughts with us. Ibrahim Sesay is the head of the Child Protection Unit at UNICEF Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed.